Hey, the man himself.
Well, hello, and how is the wonderful Sue looking so cool and incredible in red?
I wanted to do justice to your show. How you feeling,
Oh,
darling?
I am fantastic, thank you. All the better for seeing you, as always, and looking forward to an interesting conversation because today's one hell of a topic. I mean, you've picked something that I'm looking forward to seeing how you answer this one because it's quite a complex one. I mean, how to feel good about yourself right away. I mean, that's pretty challenging, I would say, in many cases, because there are a lot of times that we wake up and we think, is today really the day? Do I really need to face this day?
Yeah,
And depending on what circumstances or what you've faced that day, it might be something that you just don't feel up to, and to feel good right away is quite a statement. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we cover that.
me too.
Awesome stuff. So without further ado, I mean, Sue Plumtree, for those of you who haven't had a chance to, uh, you know, see one of the incredible mini series that we've been doing, is she's an inspiration. She leads by example, and she's taken LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook by storm over the last few months, just really bringing some incredible value and sharing some pretty tough subjects, subjects that a lot of people would struggle to talk about publicly. And she has jumped right in there, feet first, and has spoken from her own personal example as well as from examples that through cases that she has worked on over the years. And at the end of the day, the a whole new light on how to take relationships to that next level. So if you haven't, please go and watch some of the others, some of the other videos that we've got. They're all on Life Hacks with Mac on my YouTube channel, and also on my profile. And we'll share some links to it in the comments afterwards as well. But Sue, tell us what's been happening in your life and how are things going?
It's really interesting. Very topical question about how to feel good about yourself. Because since we last spoke, do you know the term life happens?
Very
No,
well,
you
very well
never heard
indeed.
the term. I know life never happens. Well, let me tell you, life has been happening, seriously happening. And interestingly enough, I posted about this today. Um, so I've been having some huge challenges, health relating challenges, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Um, and the thing is, you can look at me and I'm happy. I feel good despite of the challenges. And the reason is, well, in my case, one is for everybody and one is for me. The everybody is I have a life's purpose. That is, nothing is going to stop me from that focus. The other one is a little bit more personal, and it's my age. But I suppose it isn't because it is because I'm 77 and I'm thinking I don't have time to piss about or to be distracted. Or, life is short. I have something to achieve, to make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so the challenges, I deal with them. But then I'm here because it matters. The issue about age, it could be 50, 60, 70, it's irrelevant. Today, this is all you have. Make the most of it. And it doesn't have to be being with a fantastic Mac launcher. It could be, giving something of yourself, looking after your grandchildren. What is your purpose? Who are you here to make a difference to, and make that your focus? I can't tell you, it transforms the quality of your life. It transforms how you feel about yourself, and it transforms your environment. I'm so glad you asked me that question. Thank you.
It's it's an interesting one, Sue, because it's there's the, I don't know if you've heard of the holiday hack. Now, the holiday hack is, this amazing thing that happens, that if we all of a sudden got given, say it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and somebody phoned you up and said, hey, you've just won a holiday, all expenses paid, you leave in 48 hours, get your bags packed. Now, it's amazing what we will do to shift heaven and earth and what all of a sudden becomes priority in the next 48 hours to make sure that we would, get on that trip. And it's also the same as when we take a holiday anyway. Whenever we kind of consciously think about the fact that we're going to be taking a break, it's amazing how we then prepare things. Who's going to look after the house? Who will feed the cats? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And all the work things, the priorities you go through so quickly, and you can get so much achieved in a short period of time. Yet when we get back to work, it's almost like, well, we've got the rest of the year. And it's,
Yeah.
So how do you maintain that level of drive and excitement and being present so that you can achieve so much more in such a little time when you are focused and you've got your priorities straight?
The interesting thing is, apart from that holiday or organizing that holiday, what are your priorities when you get back? Because if you don't have any priorities, if you don't have any focus, if you don't have any goals or purpose or anything, then you just amble around. So, and that's how life, not time, life is wasted.
Yeah.
Being in the present is, it's a great idea and I love it. But what if the present stinks? It's not easy.
That's a great question.
I know. So I'm going to tell you a brief story. It must have been in the middle or end of December 2015. I was actually going through a really difficult time. So I was in a very bad space. But I had just met Dave. And so there I am. He's not even here. I'm at home. And I find myself smiling. Just for no reason at all. I'm in this terrible place and I'm smiling. I hadn't realized just yet that I'd fallen in love. I had never really fallen in love. Pathetic, I know. But anyway, the point was focus. And I realized later, much later, looking back, what had been happening. I had been refocusing from the darkness to love, literally, not the spiritually. We're talking literally. And so it's what I use often is the refocus. And what I explained, what is happening to me now, it's also a refocus on the things that matter. So this is how you keep your energy levels up and your vision, and it's sharp, it's clear when you have a focus.
It's interesting because I've recently seen a few people post and ask the question about purpose, and having that focus. I find that life is so much more exciting when you know what your purpose is.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
But a lot of people go through life, just looking at the job kind of area as such, because a lot of people, they work at a job, they may not like it, but they do it because it's a means to an end. And not everybody wakes up in the morning going, I'm excited to go and do what I'm doing today. There are very few people that have that. And for me, it's a blessing to be able to speak to people like
Yeah.
yourself and meet incredible people. And I love what I do. So it really annoys me when I haven't got the energy to do what I want to do as
I
much as
get
I
that.
want to.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just struggle with that whole idea of I mean, the subject here is about how do you feel good about yourself right away, but that's quite a difficult thing if you don't know what your purpose is or why, um,
Mm,
and then feeling that lack of, or just that you know disconnection, not knowing whether you're looking in the past, looking in the future, and not
yeah.
spending any time in the present. What are your thoughts and advice for people on that? And if anybody has any questions, please just put them in the comments. Sue's
That would be great.
should love to answer your questions, and she's always comes up with this incredible what's the word, wisdom.
Help.
No pressure.
None. Okay. It is true that many people have jobs to pay the mortgage, or at least because a job nowadays is a blessing, right? Especially now. But in your own time, I know a man. In fact, I recently enrolled on a coaching program because there's always ways to become better and better and learn. And one of them has a day job, but his passion and he's brilliant at it is coaching. And so he does his day job, and in the evenings, because people also have full time jobs as he does, he
Yeah.
will coach people and make a difference in their lives. But he knows what that passion is. It makes me sad how many people have no idea what brings them joy. And there are books and books to help you figure it out. What makes your heart sing? What did you want to do when you were a child and you were never allowed because it wasn't sensible? Um, what do you watch other people do and you think, aren't they lucky? But luck has nothing to do with it. They worked for it. But first you have to figure it out. And that's something I might help you think it through, but the answer lies within you, in your heart. The question is getting rid of all the shoulds and shouldn'ts and can't and mustn't and I'm not capable and all that stuff and get to the heart of it and allow yourself to hear that little voice that says, but if you could, you'd be a trapeze artist. Well, okay, you're 70. What could you do instead?
Yeah, I couldn't do it at my age now.
You
I
know,
can't even touch my toes, but that's a different story.
no, it's gone long gone.
So, how do you ignite that? Because I know, for myself, one of the great things was having the opportunity to work with somebody like yourself and work with you specifically, to be able to really dig into those um, almost like restraints, the belief systems that kind of make us think that we can
That's
only
it.
do certain
That's
things.
it. You've always been terrific at what you did, always. But you had doubts. And you didn't value yourself and your service. It made such a huge difference to other people. Because if we don't value it, other people won't either. So it needs to become aware and recognize that what we have to offer is really of value to somebody. What do people tell you? I'm talking metaphorical. What do they say you're great at? And you go, yeah, yeah, because it's you. Anybody could do it. Not true, not true. You can do it. Oh, Anjali, I'm so sorry to hear that you haven't found your purpose. Is there
And
anything that makes your heart sing? Is there anything that people say to you, you're really good at something, and you've dismissed it? Maybe it's time to ask friends what are you great at. I'll give you an example. People have, because you probably gather that I wasn't born in England. And
You wouldn't
I,
say that. You've got the Queen's English.
well, I speak three languages, but English is now my first one because I've been speaking it so long. But in the early days, people would always, oh, I admire you speak. Oh, I wish I would. How wonderful! And I'm going, yeah. So one thing I know is I don't want to use my languages, even if I'm good at it. What 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 is the term? Float your boat? What floats my
What floats your boat? Yeah.
but float is learning something and becoming good at it, and then becoming better at it because it matters. So to Angelique, I might start saying, "What are you good at, and do you enjoy it? What would you like to be good at?" And then see if you can learn more of it. Ask other people what they think they see when they look at you. But sometimes we need help because we take ourselves for granted. How can we see ourselves? We can't. But other people can. And so that might be at the beginning of a journey for you. And if you have any trouble, I'm very happy to offer you a free coaching session and help you think things through.
Wow. I tell you what, Angelique, if you can take that up with Sue, I'd highly recommend it. I've been there. Her insights are incredible, and she doesn't let you beat around the bush. I was surprised how quickly she saw through my BS, which is fantastic. But yeah, definitely take that up. And you make such great points there, Sue, about speaking to those around you, because a lot of the time, if you work in an organization, as an example, you don't realize that you may feel that you're just another number, but when you speak to those people around you and you say, hey, well, what is the impact that I make for you? Like, how do I show any value? Like, what are the things that stand out when you think about what I do in my job? And you'll be surprised, because people will turn around and say things like, maybe things that you don't even think about. It could be your organization skills, it could be your team bonding skills, or it could be little things like your time management, and all these things add up. And if you look at those strengths, it's and you put them together, and then you work with somebody like Sue to really dig deep into that, you'll be surprised that the talents that you think you need to develop have potentially been there all the way along. You just haven't actually shed some light on it because you were looking elsewhere. So Sue, Omar's just put in, I'm just going to put his comment up there. There we go. So he's saying he's loving the positivity. So his question is, can you make yourself feel good about yourself?
Omar, I need to answer Omar.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Mark.
I've just I've put his question up there for you.
It's such an important question. It's a hard one. But if there are people with family, you can't avoid. But other people, friends, acquaintances, ask yourself, do they have to be in my life? Sometimes people will say, well, we've known each other since year dot. And I'm going, what's that got to do with anything? So, Omar, ask yourself the hard questions. If it is your family, maybe you need to have a conversation. And again, here, you can't do it without help. And I'm really happy to help you, seriously, because I've been there. And it's something that you have to deal with because it can bring you down. And you can't afford to be brought down. You can't. So, sweetie, get in touch with me and we'll talk.
And it's an interesting one, because the question that Omar talks about, he talks about both at work and family as an example. And I see, there's an old statement that says you are the average, or a combination of the 6 people that you spend most of your time with. And we don't realize how true that is, and until we start looking at those people we spend most of our time with, you'll notice that there are certain things that will come out that if you're with a different crowd, that those mindsets and certain thinking patterns aren't necessarily the same. So
Yeah.
this is one of the things I really enjoy about platforms like LinkedIn and live networking and things like that, is finding people that are like-minded, that are where you would like to be, so that they can help pull you up, and spend more time with that, because it's so easy to be dragged down, because you may be that one person in the 5 or 6 people that's holding up the tent pole, as it were, and holding everybody else up, and that's draining your energy, and
Indeed.
they're pulling you down. So
And
it's
some
important
people don't
to,
want to be held up.
yeah, exactly. So
It's much
yeah,
more complicated, Omar. It's much more complicated than we make it sound here.
yeah,
There's so many issues that's why I would love to talk with you, because there are lots of things to think about before you have any conversation. It starts here. Like, you deserve to be surrounded by people who love and support you. That's where it all starts.
absolutely.
If you've not experienced it before, it's not a thought that comes naturally.
So Sue, talk us through, how do we get to feel good about ourselves right away? What do we like?
Okay, I
What
have
would you
to.
recommend? How do we go through it? How do we slap ourselves into the right attitude?
Okay, number one, it's not right away, not possible. Number two, you don't slap yourself into shape. You don't do that to yourself. It starts with love for yourself, not slapping yourself around. No. Um, but it starts with a thought, I deserve better. That is the first thought. I deserve better. Then you look around at people, and I'm going to give some specific tips here. So anyone with pencil and paper, write them down. Okay. And it starts with, make a list of people that you don't feel good when you're around them. Then write down with the things that they say and do that make you feel bad. Pick one person. What do they say and do that make you feel bad about yourself, or drained, or irritated, frustrated, angry, whatever? Then write down how you would like to feel instead. And that is the important list. That instead list will be your personal boundaries. So if I really need to speak without being interrupted, for example, if I really want to be taken seriously and not be taken for granted, then once you know it and people cross the line, you will recognize it much more easily. The next step, of course, is learning how to make your personal boundaries clear in such a way that they can hear you without feeling defensive.
That's a
So there
difficult one.
is a lot of learning to be done, and none of it is instant. So it really depends how badly do you want this for yourself, how
So
committed you are to yourself and to loving yourself and respecting yourself. Because when you do, other people will get the message. That's where it starts. Sweetie, Anjali, nature that makes such a multiple choices leads to indecisiveness. Um, I don't know exactly what you're looking for. Are you looking for peace and enjoyment? Um, are you looking for make a living from any of your interests? What is it that you exactly what you're looking for? Because when you're thinking of refocusing your career, for example, which would require a lot of study and retraining, is one thing. The other one, if it is peace and enjoyment, then you don't have to choose. You can have all of it. There's nothing to stop you, because it helps you recharge your batteries and nurture your emotional engine so that you can be present in your other life in a much more positive way. So you need to be clear about what it is that you want to do with what you enjoy.
absolutely, and Sue, I just want to go back to that point where you spoke about boundaries, because it's an interesting one that very often people don't realize that they get to choose and set those boundaries. and they are driven by by circumstance and their surrounding, and so therefore they go, well, I can't do this because of this, I can't do that because of this, and so they make all these assumptions until they when you get that kind of light bulb moment where you realize, well, actually I'm in control of how people treat me, and I have to set my clear boundaries. The challenge that a lot of people face is they have the light bulb moment and then they become reactive because they may see anybody who crosses those boundaries as confrontational potentially. But as you mentioned earlier, they haven't clearly explained that they are setting these boundaries, and then expecting people to respect the boundaries is hard when they don't know. So in our head, we may have our boundaries very clear, but because we haven't lived in a way that shows other people what those boundaries are, to expect them to immediately understand what they are can be a big boundary to climb. So what is what would you suggest, once you've written down what your boundaries are and what your what's another word for it? I can't think of it now, but your standards, as it were. What's the best way to communicate that out, if especially when you've been around people that have got to know you in a certain way, and you've kind of realized, you know what, I've actually become the doormat here. I need to set up my stall and make things clear that this is not how I'm moving forward.
Yeah. First, I need to tell you the bad news.
Oh dear.
Again, the bad news is 9 out of 10, you will have trained these people to treat you the way they do. And the way you have done it is by tolerating poor behavior without, or you go on the counterattack, or you could become defensive, or you walk away in a huff. None of it tells people what's wrong. None of it. And that's the confrontation. You're already doing it. So, but to say that I want to avoid confrontation doesn't make any sense, because you're already confronting by attacking and defending and blaming and all that stuff. So forget that. That is confrontation, and it's not working. Um, I think I better finish my thought. Yeah.
No, it's fine. That was my fault. You've read that one already.
I think it's the same one.
Yeah.
It's the same one. Yeah. So first of all, you have to take responsibility for the fact that you have allowed it, and people don't know that you have any boundaries. They don't even know what exactly upsets you. They will go saying, what got into him? What got into her? And they won't even know what it is that they did, unless they are deliberately out to hurt you, which is highly unlikely. What might have happened is a trigger, which is why it's so important to get to know. I've been talking about this throughout. You need to know yourself. You need to deal with your past pain and disappointments, because if you don't, you will bring them into any new relationship, and that you might have been in a relationship for some time, but the past will always haunt you, and your partner will unwittingly use a word and you go whoosh, and it had nothing to do with him. They didn't mean anything, but it brings something up from the past. When you deal with all of that, and again, that needs help, but it's essential for a happy and harmonious relationship. I've been at this for a very long time, so I don't have any triggers. I don't have any triggers. I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything to defend. It's done. So I come to Dave, to my husband, clean, essentially. So when he says something that upsets me, it comes from him. I know that, not from the past. You understand? There's a huge difference. So this is where the journey starts. The expressing first the clarity about what it is that they do that upsets you. Something they say, something they do, the tone of their voice, they keep interrupting you, they make decisions without consulting you. Who knows what it is? But something that upsets you. So jumping down on them isn't going to change anything. So either you want to go on the attack and you never do, and you always say, but will it change anything except make you feel good for the next few minutes? Or do you want to change things for the better? If you want to change for the better, then you have to change your approach. And that's where the process starts.
And this is, there's a lot of what's the word, being quite self-aware of what and how you respond to those around you. Because it's not an overnight it's not like you just walk up to a switch and go, okay, my boundaries are in place, everybody else knows, I switch the light on, and it's a perfect change as of today.
No. And then even when you do, and then even when you express them really well, it will take time for them to get it. So either they might say, oh, she's in a mood, or what's going on with her, and ignore it for a while. But if you are consistent and persistent, if you keep at it, basically, then sooner or later they'll get the message.
Yeah. And this is, and I keep going to that word clarity, because that's the, it's normally, and I've seen that in my life as an example, when I have certain expectations, and then I've got to ask myself, does the person who I have this expectation from know that this expectation is there? Or are there clear signposts? It's like when you say that running an event and not sending any invitations out, and then being disappointed because nobody showed up.
It's a good one.
So it's really important to have that clarity and think about the journey that those people are on, because a lot of an easy thing to forget is that we're not the only one that's on a journey. The other person is also on their journey, and sometimes communicating something once may just not be the right time for that person, because their journey has got other things that are screaming louder in their life that may not get you to break through. So therefore, it's going to it could take time.
It will take time, but if you care about the relationship, then you will make the time.
Yeah, and I think for me, because we're appearing on 3 different channels. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and some people might be sitting there thinking, well, LinkedIn, this is a business channel. Why does this appeal, or what is the relevance here? And relationships are not just our personal relationships; these are our work relationships, where as Omar spoke about earlier, when depending on those people that you work about and that are in your circle of people that you interact with on a daily basis, it's very easy or should I say it's very hard when, as you've said earlier, you've trained those around you how to treat you, and then one day you realize, actually, I'm worth more than this. I don't deserve to be treated like this. But we've literally allowed that, and therefore trained our environment to make us so as an example, if you're the one that always makes the coffee in the office and nobody else does, and they just expect you to, or you're the one that always stays late in the office having to pick up everybody else's work, or you're the one that picks up the slack for everybody else all the time. By doing that on a regular basis, I did that for many years in a few different organizations, and I thought I was doing everybody a favor. I was like really, until one day I realized I was burning myself out because I couldn't maintain, that level of work, and picking up everybody else's slack, where a lot of people were just being able to, go home thinking, well, Mac will pick up. And
Yeah.
I in the light bulb moment when I went, well, why are they doing this to me? And I went, they're not doing this to me. I did this to myself.
Yeah.
And it was like when you realize that we've got to take responsibility for the way we are treated, that's quite a big like epiphany. It's like
It
wow, like
is.
hold on.
Because
Um,
one of the things that people try to do is to change the other person. And I have the news for you. You will never change them. Believe me, I tried with my first husband. For 37 years, I'm a slow learner. What can I say? But I got the message. I am the only one I can change. And I have. And the results speak for themselves. But I stayed with it just because it was hard and it was frustrating. But there are some great milestones that keep us on track. That's why we do, why we stay with it despite the challenge, is because of those milestones. And it's great when it
Absolutely.
happens.
We've got, I'm just seeing a few comments that have come through here. We've got Shehzadi Yunus from Pakistan saying, hi, I hope you and your family are safe. I know the current circumstances out there have been a nightmare. But thank you for joining and listening to us and joining us today. And then we have got Monica has said we have to lower our expectations that other person will understand our
No,
reason.
Monica, don't do it.
So
Don't do
I,
it. No. Um, we don't have must never lower our expectations. We have to explain them so that they don't feel threatened. When you change, they will feel threatened for many reasons. If it is your partner, they might be afraid of losing you. You have to explain that that's got nothing to do with them and that you would love their support and that you can do it together. You need them effectively, but don't lower your expectations, Monica. Don't do that just to make another person feel more comfortable. It's too high a price to pay.
it yeah, it's an interesting one because I myself I can relate to what Monica is saying because sometimes you think, oh, you know what, I'm just going to be disappointed all the time. Um, that you can easily lower your expectations, but then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because everywhere you go you keep lowering the bar. um,
Exactly.
and it's interesting because when you deal with people that are extremely positive, very high performing, they it's like and I'm just thinking of like an athlete that is a sprinter. At the end of the day, those people dragging them back, they stay behind because they don't they haven't got time to hang about and hang back and impact their performance. um, and it's a choice, it's a tough choice to make.
There's something I'd like to add that
Sure,
to
go for it.
Monica's thoughts, and that is um, other people sometimes won't be able to keep up with us. And then you have a choice to fall back. But I have to tell you, I have been dumped many times in my life. I used to be very big, seriously big. When I lost weight, I got a lot of criticism. Oh, you look so haggard. Oh, you're going to be so weak, and all that kind of just to get me down. I had a choice. Do I listen to them to make them feel more comfortable? Or do I follow what I know is right for me? In the end, they couldn't handle it. We parted company. We just didn't belong together anymore. We grew apart. When we change, we may grow apart. The thing is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore because new people come into your life who are more in tune with you. So don't hang on to people who don't understand what you need.
So Monica's just added a little bit extra there for you, Sue.
Um, oh, sorry, sweetie. We cannot make no. Oh no, we can't. Don't try. Or you might try ask them why not. Why don't they agree? Where do they come from? Because, you don't have to dismiss them just because they don't agree with you. You could be curious. Why do you feel as you do? And then you can understand each other better, even if you don't agree. I hope I got it right this time, Monica. Sorry.
Excellent, but it gives us, and this is one of the things I love about doing live interviews, giving people an opportunity to come in and engage and ask questions. So if you've got
Mm,
any further questions just before we wrap up, please do put that in. And even if you are watching the replay, Sue and I will look at the comments afterwards, and we'll respond and get back to you if you have any
definitely.
questions post this.
And I agree with Paul, by the way. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, definitely do unto others as you want them to do unto you. It's such a simple statement, but it's amazing how often we forget, or how easy it is
Yeah,
for people to
it's not
forget.
as easy as, yeah, yes.
Um, and Monica says thank you. Monica, thank you for taking the time to put
Absolutely.
your
Thank you
thoughts in
very
here
much
as
for
well.
joining us. Really appreciate it. And for asking the questions.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for joining us today. I mean, this is an interesting and yet a tough subject at the same time, because there are so many different opinions. But the key thing is, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that we look after and be very clear as to who we are and what we want as individuals. And Sue, what's the best way for people to really define themselves? Because most people are, as was said earlier, is like, what is my purpose? And people are still looking for that, or trying to define who they should be and what their boundaries are and what's acceptable as boundaries. Because depending on where we come from and our background and our upbringing, each one of us will have a potentially different bar to measure what's acceptable with regards to
Yeah.
personal boundaries. So, what would you suggest people do, or how do they go about, building those personal boundaries to find something that they are comfortable with?
It's to do with what upsets you, what makes you feel hurt and angry and frustrated. Those are the things that you need to change. So it's not a whim. It's something that touches you. If it leaves you feeling bad about yourself, that's not good. Those are things that you need to identify what you prefer instead. So it's not, I would prefer them to pay for my dinner every time we go out for a date. No, that is not an acceptable boundary. It's not a boundary. Um, but a boundary, assuming you're dating, and I don't know if any, as an example, is you pay for yourself because other people might then explain, well, I paid for your dinner, so you owe me. That is a boundary, absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's as an work as an example is, people may not be thinking about the way they're treating you because they just reacting. But if you accept how somebody reacts to you and you keep doing that, eventually you train them that it's okay to be
Exactly,
treated
that's
like that.
acceptable.
Yeah. And the simplest example I can give is, and this was a terrible lesson for me to learn, and I've mentioned this before, is that moment you stay for the few extra minutes to help out after work, and then the next day you decide, I'm going to stay late so I can help out again, and eventually you find you're always leaving the office late, and then you start resenting people around you because you think, oh man, I keep having to work late. The wife's
Exactly.
complaining because I'm never coming home on time, and I've got to, the kids I don't get to see, and you sit there and you think, it's work's fault. And actually, and I've done this exercise where I went and I put my foot down and I was like, okay, actually, I'm going to leave on time. I'm going to make sure my work is done by the time I need to leave, and I will leave on time.
Mm.
And I changed that. It took some time for people to get used to that, because they were all
See,
like,
that was
what's
magic.
going on?
It took
Yeah,
some time for people to get used to my new behavior.
correct.
It takes
But
time.
then,
Then you have to persist.
exactly. But over time, what happened was people would ask and actually consider me when they say, hey, would you mind staying after work for a couple of minutes to do XYZ? So they all of a sudden started appreciating the value that I added.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that totally changed everything. But when I realized that I was, blaming people for how I had programmed them, it's quite a wake-up call.
Huge. Huge. Great
Absolutely. So,
example.
Sue, we just looking at time, we've got to wrap up, but I know we've got one more episode that we are going to be doing, and I'll be catching up with you afterwards. But I know there's so many people that have come on this little mini series along the way that have messaged and commented about the impact and the positivity they've taken away, and what is the best way for people to reach out and connect with you? Where can they find
LinkedIn
regular
is a good
updates?
one. LinkedIn is a great one. Find my contact details on LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
you can choose which method you want to contact me. Just contact me.
excellent stuff. I mean, Sue has been an incredible inspiration for many people that she doesn't even know on LinkedIn, because she posts on a regular basis, and as a lot of us know, there are many people that don't they don't comment, they don't like, they don't share, but they're watching. So we want to make sure that Sue keeps bringing this value and all these amazing things. So if you are in a position to, please go and comment on some of her posts and just show her some love and appreciation for the amazing value that she brings. But do reach out to her as well. She doesn't bite, but she she does tell you how as it is, and she if you're looking for somebody you can work with that can really get you out of your comfort zone, and confront some of those limiting beliefs that hold you back. This is the lady that can definitely help you, snip those attachments, as it were, and cut those ropes and help you go forward. And you'll be surprised what you're capable of. So find your value again, and start liking yourself if that's something that you haven't had in a while. But Sue, thank you so much for spending this
You're
time.
so
Have you got any
welcome.
final thoughts for everybody? And anything else, other events that people can come and reach out or come and check out with you?
Don't give up. Talk to me. It's as simple as that, because it will give you clarity about what to do next, or even where you have been stopping yourself. And if nothing else, you'll feel a lot less frustrated than you're feeling now. And I'm very happy to help.
Excellent stuff. And the beauty of the internet is now Sue is available globally. But at the end of the day, make sure that you treat her time with respect as well, because this lady is taking the world by storm, and she's not sitting around waiting for things to happen. She's making them happen. So
Yep.
Sue, thank you again for your
Yes.
amazing just your this personality that comes through, and your love and affection for the human beings out there that you bring such value to. So keep bringing that, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff.